for them to ice the thing, and you know, he's covered in tattoos, and he had this specific tattoo here, so I was standing next to him Googling what it was, and it was this Prince tattoo, and just something about them, like, I couldn't get them off my mind. So then the ice skating thing opens back up, and I'm ice skating, and God just opened my heart for what for me was the first time in a year and a half to someone else's pain. And he gave me this picture of that man as a little boy, alone, hopeless, in the dark, and this word for him that I have loved you all your life and you've never been alone. And I've never told that story without crying. And I shattered in 1,000 pieces for that man that night. I began to pray that I would meet them, and a week later I run into her at the library. Less than a week after that, I run into her at Walmart. I finally say, this is ridiculous. I introduce myself. Her name is Veronica. They have 3 small kids. They are no longer together. She shared with me about their life. We've exchanged phone numbers. We've been in touch. And God used their pain to bring back my hope. Like, I can't explain it in any other way, but to open my eyes that there is a whole world out there that is dying, that is going to bed every single night alone and in the darkness, desperate for someone to know that they are known and loved and heard. And so that was January 1st, right? New Year's Eve. Fast forward to the month of March, and I'm going to wrap this up with this story. I'm going to tell the condensed version. We, at that time, had 4 kids, 7 and under. We had 5 kids in 5 years. I was 100% over having babies. We're driving home. Our daughter, Eden, who's 3 and a half now, she is an extremely difficult child. We've had a lot of struggles with her. And so, kind of like what Laura described, I mean, a very trying season. We're driving home from Costco. It's 5:30 on the busiest street in Missoula. I'm sitting at the light, and I look over, and there's this homeless girl holding, not a sign at that time, she was holding her gas cans. And so I'm looking at her, and I'm like, and she's pregnant, and I was like, oh, I should help that girl. What was different? 3 months earlier, God had opened my eyes again to the people that walk around us every day who are desperately needing someone to see them. That was different. So I think to myself, oh, I should really help that girl. And I say, no, Eden's screaming, because Eden's always screaming. I just want to get home. It's dinner time. So I don't. I turn, and I'm halfway home. And the Holy Spirit says, turn around and help that girl. I flip the quickest U-turn you've ever seen in oncoming traffic. I turn around. I call her over to the gas station. She said, hey, I said, I can help you, with gas. I can fill up your gas cans. And she said, I'm actually have my car parked across the street. Can I just pull it over? So she pulls her car over, and I'm talking to her like, are you from here? Very homeless look about her, very just dirty and unwashed and uncleansed. She's pregnant. I said, well, are you from here? Do you have a doctor here? She said, no, she's from these neighboring towns. And I say something that I've never said to another human being. I felt like I was on the outside of my body, looking at myself talking, and I said, well, my husband and I would love to help you in any way we can. I mean, we would even adopt your baby. Okay, who says that? Somebody that you just met. And if someone told you that, would you say, excuse you, I'm doing just fine by myself? She said, I've actually been thinking of doing that. She said, can I get your number? I find out in that conversation that she and the dad met at a homeless shelter in Kalispell. He was not, he knew of the baby, but there was an involvement. She said, as it is right now, my dad is going to get guardianship when she's born, when the baby's born. Okay, I know nothing, but I have the Holy Spirit living inside of me. The second she said, my dad is going to get guardianship, every warning went off in my spirit, and I knew immediately that could not happen. I knew nothing at that time. Fast forward, when the baby was taken from the hospital by social services, the social worker said, we have to do a paternity test on the grandfather because of what we found in their history. Okay, I didn't know that at the time. What I did know was that for those 4 weeks before she delivered the baby, what I prayed was, God, whatever happens, please don't let this baby go home with the grandpa. I've come to find out Jennifer herself, the birth mom, was removed by social services from her home. Okay, so Matt and I, we have her over to our home a few times. I give her everything of my daughter Eden's, everything, clothes, all the way up to 18 months because she didn't have anything. We stay in touch with her. We really say we want to support you, we want to help you. The time comes, she ends up getting taken in by the police to the hospital because so many people called in complaining of seeing a pregnant woman with her son. You know, they're concerned for the baby. So finally the police pick her up, bring her to the hospital, and she calls me and says, can you come visit me? Okay, 6 years ago yesterday, I delivered a 30-week baby who was stillborn, our first daughter Grace, in this hospital room. This is not a small hospital, this is Missoula. I mean, there's probably 20 hospital rooms. When I go to visit her, what room was she in? That room that I had delivered my stillborn little girl 5 years earlier, okay? So I go in there, she's about to have a C-section, I'm just trying to support her, encourage her, and she at that point is dead set that the baby's gonna go home with her dad. She's asking me, I have $36, do you think that'll be enough for diapers for the first month until I get my next Social Security check? And I'm just like, she has no idea, and all I could think about is this baby's going to be going home to this grandpa. We've since been out to their property. Guys, it's what you would envision, you know, I mean, not to paint this depressing picture. So sure enough, she delivers. She asked if I'll come visit the baby. So I go and visit the baby. I meet the birth dad. I walk into a man who's almost 60. The birth dad is in his mid-50s. She's in her mid-20s. He has kids her age. Basically saying to me, there at the hospital, you know, Jennifer's going to have to work it out. He said, am I going to find another woman who wants to take care of this baby? And I'm just like, oh my goodness. So Matt and I are just consistently praying for this little baby. So we leave, and I leave, and they are adamant that they're going to do this. She's going to do this with her dad. Okay, Monday, the day of the discharge, and I'm sorry if this story is getting a little bit long. No. I take my daughter to swim lessons. The only time in 3 years that I've ever taken just one child to swim lessons. I always have all of them. So I'm in the women's locker room, which I'm never in because I always have the boys with me, so I'm always going to the family one. And so I'm in the women's locker room. I passed this older lady, and she said, you look really familiar to me. And I said, oh, I don't know. I found a place where I'd seen her. And she said, I'm a labor and delivery nurse. You were visiting a patient this weekend. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, Jennifer, it's really weird. I actually don't really know her. I met her on the side of the road, if you can believe that, and we're just trying to support her. I said, I actually didn't know that day if we should let the nurses know, why we were there. And she said, I really wish you would have, because that would have helped us a lot to know, because by that time social services was involved. She had to be watched 24/7. She said that would have helped me. And she said, I just really encourage you to let the hospital know that you are able to help her. So I call Matt, my husband, and he works at this hospital. This is where he works, so social services, he's familiar with them there. He says, hey, we just ran into this nurse. She encouraged us to let them know that we want to help if there's a need. And she said, that meeting is happening right now. Let me go down to the room. So while that's happening, I'm on the computer, and God spoke so clearly to me to buy a car seat, because I got rid of everything. So I get on and I took a screenshot of this. The very first entry on Craigslist was a car seat. And so I immediately messaged her. She said, I can meet you at 5 or 5:30. Okay, so that happens. I get off the phone, or the texting, I get that done. Jennifer calls me and says, hey, they had the meeting. They're going to let me take the baby home with my dad. He's going to be the guardian. I felt physically sick. She said, but we don't have a car seat. Do you have one? I was like, well, funnily enough, I am going to have one. I said, I just contacted a girl, but I can't pick it up till 5. She goes, oh, and this was at 2. She said, oh, you can't get it sooner because we're ready to go home. And I was like, no, but as soon as I get it, I'll bring it over. I get off the phone and I'm sick, and I immediately start praying, God, please don't let this baby go home with the grandpa. So fast forward 2 hours. I get a call from Jennifer, hysterical. they're not going to let me take the baby home. They're taking the baby from me. And she said, can you come here? I said, I'll head over there right now. I go to tell Matt that I'm headed to the hospital, and Matt is on the phone, and he says, hold on, you know, the universal signal for hold on. He gets off the phone. He said, that was the hospital. They want us to come pick the baby up. And I was like, what? And so we talked to social. Let me fast forward a second. You know those 3 hours between when I told the girl that I asked to go for the car seat, she said, sure, I can meet you at 5 or 5:30. And Jennifer had to wait. So social services was at the hospital. And they made the decision, okay, we are going to let the baby go home under the guardianship of the dad, or the grandpa. He has a job. You know, he had these provable things. So she went all the way back to her office, which is, if you know Missoula, it's all the way across town. She said, I just had a little bit of discomfort about him. So I got back to the office and looked in more to him, and what I found horrified me. I knew that I could not let that baby go home with the grandpa. She said, so I told my supervisor, I think I've made a mistake. Can you give the hospital executive order to keep them from going home? If there had not been a delay in the car seat, they would have already left and got home. Even those minor details of God delaying the car seat enabled her to go find what she found, because I have a feeling that Jennifer and her dad knew, and I think they would have been gone. I don't know that we would have known where Sari went or what happened to her. So we're freaking out. We literally have nothing, absolutely nothing, because I'd given everything to her, and I didn't even have a car seat. So the social worker says, I'll bring her to your house. And this is another God thing. So with 2 hours notice, we get this brand new baby, and we have nothing. And we have 4 kids, 7 and under. Now 5 kids, 7 and under. And she comes, the social worker brings the baby, literally with the bag of clothes that Jennifer had, clothes that were like 9 months, 12 months. And she said, you know what, we're going to have some problems with EQA. And we said, what's EQA? Again, we're not foster care certified. For those of you who are, you know what that means. It's the Indian Child Welfare Act, because you can't tell, but Sari is Native American. Her grandparents and Jennifer grew up on the reservation right outside Missoula. They are enrolled tribal members. I said, well, I'm an enrolled tribal member at Navajo, if that helps. And she said, yes, that makes us an Indian household. Okay, we have since gotten certified and have learned that if we were not, they would have already removed the baby. They would have already removed Sari. So 6 months later, when I was dying and drowning under the care of 5 kids, at that time 8 and under, and I said, God, why me? Like, we had